Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Daffy's Roundtable. On this episode, we're joined by Paul Burrows of Paul's Monitors, a reptile keeper based in the UK that has made a name for himself showing off the incredible relationship he has with his monitors. We discuss some of the differences between the reptile hobby in Europe versus over here in North America. Then we, of course, dive into monitors, where we talk about Paul's experiences breeding monitors and what he does in terms of enrichment and handling to build the trust he has with his monitors. Like with Mango, the famous Mangrove monitor. We also briefly talk about mental health, how mental health can affect your hobby, or how your hobby can affect your mental health. We are also once again joined by the awesome Greg of Beneath the Canopy Exotics as my co-host for this episode. But before we jump into the monitor talk, allow me to thank Exo Terra for sponsoring this podcast and making this episode possible. Exo Terra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home. Okay, let's talk monitors. Everybody, please help me welcome Paul Burrows of Paul's Monitors. Paul, hello.
Hello, boys. How you doing? You all right?
Good. How are you?
Great. How you doing?
It's always nice acting like we didn't just have a conversation before.
The very first time meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I've just done a little bit of maintenance in the reptile room and now just chilling out, talking to you boys. How are you?
It's going good. Just had baby quail hatch for the first time.
Yeah.
Had some baby quail hatch
Yeah.
yesterday. So we're still a bit hyped on that. Not reptiles, but it could be reptile related.
Some button quail, which are
nice.
stupid tiny.
Yeah.
So
So we're excited about that. And other than that, I think let's dive right into it.
We already know about ourselves. So
yes, tell us how did you get started in reptiles? Give us the quick story.
I mean, it's the same as everybody. Idolizing Steve Irwin, weird kid flipping over. It might be the same in Canada actually, but we don't really have much herpetofauna. We have 6 native species of reptile and 6 native species of amphibian. That's it.
It's very similar here. Yes.
Yeah. So there wasn't like loads, but I was out catching snakes and just different stuff. And I've always been obsessed with piranhas, the monitors, and I never really started keeping monitors until 2019, 2020, mainly because the hobby was like, no, you can't keep monitors. Like, they're too hard. They're this, they're that. Like, stay away. So I went through everything, kept everything. Never really filled the hole that was in me for keeping. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to keep varanids. And I started with some Ackies, and I had a Savannah back when. That was the only monitor I'd ever kept, but I started with some Ackies and moved on to green trees and then into mangroves and then into Burrows and into Kimberleys, and then it just snowballed and now I have what I have. Is a short story. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, obviously we're gonna get into the monitors, obviously Paul's monitors, so we're gonna get into the monitors. Before that, I was checking out your YouTube the other day. Yeah, okay. I noticed that you have a species that Greg, you did not mention. He keeps Stenodactylus.
I do.
Oh, that's a newer one.
I've only had them in for a couple of months. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think of them?
They're amazing. So
he's a steno guy. That's why.
So you have, from the video I saw, I think you have Stenodactylus.
Yeah, I have Stenodactylus. So in mid-September, I went to a reptile show and there were some there, and I was like, I can't leave them because I've wanted them for ages. They were a really good price, so I picked up 5. They're really young, and they're captive bred, which is great, and they're from like a diverse group. So I'm hoping they're semi-unrelated. I don't know my sex ratios yet, but I have 5. I also got some binos geckos at the same time, and I picked up a female Nephorus cinctus, just a rough knobtail gecko. So I have a pair of those, but I don't enjoy those as much as I enjoy the Stenodactylus. The Stenodactylus are always out. They're always doing something. They're really quirky. They're really intriguing. They're great hunters. The tail wags. I keep toad-headed agamas as well, which wag their tail, so it's kind of fitting. So I'm thinking about moving on my binos geckos and getting Stenodactylus petrii, because the Stenodactylus genus I just think are incredible.
Okay, so I had binos geckos as well. I have 2 left, but I'm getting rid of them. And I just got petrii. I highly recommend you do that. I highly recommend you do that.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do.
Are bigger too, so you see them even more. Yeah. And the colors and the patterns on them are absolutely incredible. So yeah, good move on the stenos. Oh, let's just
the stenos are cool. I do love. people that follow me, it's a running joke. It's like Paul's monitors, and I started getting into geckos. It's like, oh, Paul's geckos. Oh,
Yeah.
But yeah, the stenos are cool. I would recommend them to anybody. I think they're amazing little geckos.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're so bold. I've been shocked by them. I don't keep them.
I'm
myself,
surprised they're
but-
over here, at least until like a year ago, or like maybe 2 years ago. They have not been. They were very, very uncommon.
The
I'm
same
surprised
here.
that they have, yeah, is it like that?
Yeah,
I'm
same
surprised
here,
they weren't more common in the hobby sooner. But yeah, they're getting there. They're getting there for sure.
Yeah, I think people like obviously Diane. He posts a lot about them, and
he got his from me, or the original, the original two. And then
I think
and then
I saw the
tons
video.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
make the link to be fair, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I got mine within like the day or two of him posting that video, and I'll be honest, I was like, yes, this is the perfect time.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I had them and nobody ever cared about them, and I couldn't I was ready to sell some. I had some babies and it was like nothing, and then Dion got two, and then I gave him two, and so when he had that, it's like now they're I'm always sold out because of that.
Yeah,
So
you just got to get a
you
species
just gotta-
into the right hands.
into the right hands. Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad
Yeah,
but
yeah.
true. You know.
Yeah, I'm on my
I
way.
think they make great pets. So
I'm
yeah.
hoping to like, if I'm honest, do the same, like showcase through my socials how great things are, and then selfishly, it helps
Reap the
sell
benefits.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll use that as a transition. So what species have you done? What other species have you bred or worked with?
So currently I keep. I've worked with a bunch of other species, but currently I have a pair of green tree monitors, but my female's too young to pair, but I have a pair. I have a group of Gillini, which I've successfully bred and hatched. I have a pair of Ackies, which I successfully breed and hatch. I'm just going around my room. I have a pet bearded dragon, which is affected with my girlfriends. I have 4 mangrove monitors, which I get eggs regularly from, but I don't have an adult male yet. I have a peach throat monitor. I have a savannah monitor. Just going around my room. I have a trio of toad-headed agamas. Keep a few inverts, like assassin beetles and centipedes, and a few other bits and bobs. The pair of knobtails. I've got 4 binos, 5 stenodactylus, a little tortoise, 2 guinea pigs, a fiance, a child. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. Oh, I mean, this is an exclusive because I haven't announced it publicly. It's only on my Patreon, but I've got 3 baby Timor monitors. So this is an exclusive for your public. I've
There
not
we
announced
go.
that publicly.
We have an exclusive. There we go.
Yeah.
It's only on my Patreon, so I haven't released it yet. So there you go. So that's all I have at the minute. Quite a few, but the only ones I'm actually breeding currently are the Gillini and the Ackies.
Awesome.
That's cool. See, Europe has much more active Gillini presence than over here. Here, like they're kind of creeping in a little bit, but people are still kind of Ackies better.
They're not,
and it's like
they're not.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been quite intrigued by them over the last while. We
Best
actually
Audacia you'll ever own, 100%.
Yeah.
Are they around the same size?
They're tiny, so
they're smaller.
They're smaller than
smaller.
16 inches with tail, fully grown, like if that, 12 inches.
wow.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Okay. So
And you can group them up. You can. That's what I'm saying. Like they're like just such a great.
They're all honestly. My babies. We get grasshoppers over here really commonly.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, so
I know.
so jealous.
Yeah. So there was a grasshopper, and it was only a small one. And it molted, and it obviously effectively doubled in size. So it was too big for my Gillini, my baby Gillini. And I watched the baby Gillini. They're in an Exo Terra, like a 2-foot tall Exo Terra, what I raised my babies in. And it was on the wood, and it was watching this locust that was on the mesh walking, and it jumped across the Exo Terra, latched onto the locust. And obviously, where it was such a baby, it was hanging onto the locust and shaking. Then the locust fell, so they dropped 2 foot because it's a 2-foot tall Exo Terra. And then this Gillini was wrestling a locust that was literally the same size as it. And then its friends came over and they ripped it apart and ate it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
and
is
they
so cool. Did you film it?
No, I was too busy. I was too busy just like
Too fast.
watching it.
Yeah.
I've got some cool footage of them, like, which surprised me. They jump around, like tree monitors will jump from a branch to a branch. Baby Gill and I jump. I have quite a few bits of footage of
Even
that.
with those stubby little legs they have.
Honestly, they jump around.
Yeah, it's so cool. I will venture down that road, probably in the not too distant future. But it's always funny to try and get them here. We got to ship them in from Europe.
Yeah, they are good. I've had Kimberleys, I've had Pilbara, I've had Ackies, I've had Timors.
Are those all considered the dwarf monitors?
Yeah, they're all attached here. Yeah. Trying to think what else I've had. I'm probably another species, but I'm forgetting. But Gill and I are like hands down my favorite. Like I'll have a pair of Ackies forever. Ackies are great. They generally are. Gill and I, they're hardier than Ackies. So Ackies, if they're not under the right humidity conditions, they'll lose their toes. They'll get stuck shed. They'll lose their toes. They get stuck in their tail and stuff like that. Like people are like, "Oh, Ackies bone dry." Well, no, they need the humid retreat.
Yeah, 100%.
And people, if you don't give that, you get issues. Whereas Gill and I, they're a true desert monitor. And they're the only Audatria with prehensile tails, so they're proper cool. And they're not the most sexy monitor, if you like. They're just a silver lizard, but they're all monitor. When it comes to feeding, they're savages. Like and babies are like Velcro. So I've got a clip. It'll be out on my YouTube actually. There's a baby on my finger, and I'm holding it upside down, and I'm like doing this to try and get it off, and they just. Where I've got quite calloused hands as well. They're like Velcro. They stick to your fingers. And whereas baby Ackies, I've handled day-old baby tree monitors. Nothing. I've had baby Timors. Nothing sticks to you. They're like geckos. Their claws are just so fine that they stick into your skin, and you like can't get them off. Which is so weird.
When you're that small and you're arboreal, you have to have that. That capacity
100%.
to grab onto something large, you know?
They're tiny when they hatch. They're about the size of a baby finger when they hatch. They're tiny.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, that's definitely something I would like to work with. And they're like similar hatching is like breeding them similar to
people struggle. I think people keep them too dry. They experience a bit of a monsoon season in the wild. I don't think people replicate that in captivity, and I don't think people get them cold enough through the winter because where they're from, because you guys do Celsius in Canada, yeah. So where they're from naturally, it gets down to like -4 at night, Celsius,
right
in the winter. But
Where are they from?
So basically, I don't know the exact like territories, but they're northern.
They're central northern.
Yeah, they're southern. They're at the bottom end. Yeah, they're the bottom end going into central. They don't push to northern territory. Northern territory is the Kimberleys and the Pilbaras, and they stay warmer. And then you go down into southern Australia, and it gets cold as you like in the winter. I have a friend that lives not too far from the native range, and it gets to like -4 where he lives. And he reckons the Gill and I will be nestled down in about 5 degrees, 7 degrees in tree hollows. And then they don't come out for like 2 months. So you have to
they do
freeze them.
like a proper
effectively. They'll come out on warmer days because obviously the daytime still picks up to like 25 degrees.
Okay. Yeah, just the nights are cold. Yeah.
But then sometimes they don't come out. But then during the summer, they get like 45 degrees ambient in the day. So they get both extremes. But yeah, they're the bottom end of Australia where it gets colder. Whereas people keep them like Kimberleys or Ackies. Problems with Ackies, they're so widespread around, and obviously I don't know exactly where they were collected from. But Kimberleys and Pilbara, they want it really hot, really humid, but not wet. So it's hard to try and get that balance. Whereas Gill and I, they're just heavy heat. They're just hot. Like my AC failed and pumped a load of hot air into my room, and my room got 45 degrees. Very short period. And the Gill and I were just sunning themselves. They didn't care.
That's so
everything
fun,
else. The Gill and I are they're little rock stars. They are. Yeah, and you can do so much with them. They're so small, so you can keep them in like a 3x2x3 for a pair, and it's massive. Whereas you can't get one Ackie in that.
Yeah.
So it's, if you want to monitor and you're limited on space, or you're like, I've got a little corner there. I've got mine in a 4 foot long, 2 foot deep, 3 foot tall. I have a trio in there, and it's a palace. For an Aki, that's an okay enclosure. But for free Gillenite, it's great. And why would you not want that?
Yeah.
So how do you go about doing the bromation process? Like, how do you cool them for the winter?
So my room is a sunroom. It's a conservatory. So naturally it just gets cold anyway. And obviously I'm UK climate, so I get cold anyway.
Yeah.
So I just don't give them nighttime heat, and my room gets to as cold as it gets. And that's actually it. Yeah. And I reduce the daylight hours end of November, start of December. I'll reduce the daylight hours to 6 hours rather than 14. So I'll ramp it down in increments over a couple of hours over 6 weeks. And then time by I'm in December, January, I'm 6 hours on. And then February, 8 hours. Coming into March, 10, 12 hours. And then end of March, we're talking 14-hour days. So, yeah. And then as they start to come out and feed, I spray them every day. Quite heavily in the morning, so it has a chance to burn off, so they don't go to bed wet, but they have high humidity during the day. And then they just breed like Akis. But I think anyone can breed Akis. People seem to struggle with Gillenite.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we were chatting. We had Luke from Beaches Scaly Beach. Yeah. You had him on a little while ago. So we were just chatting with him about some of the temps he was finding for the Gillenite when he was doing some herping. It was crazy high. I think he was talking about like 72 or something like that.
He can go out and see
like where it's like the hot spots on the ground, not the ambient temperature, but like when they're testing a rock or something or a tree that they're sitting on, and it was like crazy hot.
Yeah, I have a basking spot in there. It's about 62 degrees roughly. I mean, I could go hotter. They'd sit under it. The babies, I cook the babies at 60 degrees, like straight out the egg, just 60-degree basking spot. Yeah. And they sit under it like it's nothing. And there's no like fanning of the feet because it's too hot. And sometimes they'd even climb up underneath the mesh where you're probably talking 80 degrees probably. Yeah. And they just sit there. And also as well, really never seen anything like it. They'll climb onto the mesh and they'll twist themselves like 180 and almost sunbathe under UVB.
Right. Yeah.
And you're probably talking like a UVI. I'll test it, but you're probably talking a UVI of like 12, maybe more, because obviously it's right under the bulb. And I give them 12%, so their basking spot's around 5. So yeah, you're probably talking 12. And they just sit and they're like almost use their bodies like owls would use their heads, and they just twist them and contort, and really cool, unique species that so many people sleep on. And I slept on them for a long time, and I got the opportunity to trade them. I swapped my Kimberleys and my Tristus I swapped my Tristus and my Timors for Kimberleys and Gillenite. That's another Nordatria. I've had Tristus as well. But so I swapped my Timors for the Gillenite and I swapped my Tristus for the Kimberleys. I ended up moving the Kimberleys on because I don't particularly like Kimberleys. I think they're so stunning. I just don't enjoy them as captives. And I miss my Tristus. So now I've got Timors again. I probably will end up with Tristus again. But the Gillenite, honestly, they're the best Nordatria I've ever owned. They're amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good to hear.
Yeah, you won't go wrong with Gillenite. You won't be disappointed. Everyone that I've sold babies to, they're like, oh my God, I didn't expect them to be like this savage, because they're so small. You just assume that, but they're almost like chihuahuas. Like they have no right being as angry and as hungry as they are, but they just are. Especially if you keep them hot. If you're keeping them like 40, 45, they're not really going to be at their full potential. But if you're cooking them and you're giving them 60 degrees, then, which I think is like 145 Fahrenheit sort of temperatures. Yeah, they're going to be flying, and you'll love them.
Cool. Okay. I don't know if you want to keep asking about green questions.
Oh.
I have a quick
you go ahead.
question, but this may take us on a different tangent. You've said the word Odatria.
Mm-hmm.
multiple times, and I apologize. I'm not a monitor guy, so can you break that down for us? What is
that's fine.
Datria? Is that like a? Is that like yeah? Go ahead. Yeah.
So obviously you got Varanus, which is the genus, which are just monitor lizards. And under the genus of Varanus, there's many different subgenuses. Like for example, Eupropriosaurus, which would be like my Indicus complex stuff, the tree monitors, not like that. But then in amongst that, you have the Indicus complex, which are your mangrove monitors, your peach throat monitors, your quince monitors, your torch monitors. There's a bunch of other different species in there. The tricolor monitors, Reina gumpheri, Juxta indicus. I mean, there's a few. We can keep going. Dwyer's, coli.
Keep going. I want to hear more.
I'm sure there's probably more. But yeah, and then Prasinus complex, which is obviously your Prasinus, which is the green trees, the Beccari black trees, McCoyi blue trees, Rosingeri yellow trees, and then Bohemii, which is your spotted goanna, I guess, spotted tree goanna. Then you've got Keith Horni, which is a canopy goanna, Cordensis, which is the biac tree monitor, and then there's a few others as well. So they're little groups under like a bigger group, under a bigger group. So Audacia is just a group of dwarf monitors, and they range pretty much from around a meter all the way down to like brevicorda size, which is like
8 inches or something.
Yeah, like that sort of. So, but they're mainly found in Australia or Dacia. They do come up into Indonesia. You've got the Affenbergi and the Timorensis, which are the Timor's monitors and the peacock monitors, and they go up into Indo. But for the most part, Audacia are your dwarf Australian monitors for the most part. So yeah, when you're talking Ackies, they're Audacia. You're talking Gillenai, they're Audacia. I think I explained it all right.
Yeah, no,
you did a good job.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's what I was expecting. But I just kind of I was just curious. Sorry for make sure. I guess I'll say it.
No,
but
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't know any of this when I started. I like when someone would say Audacia to me in like 2019, I'd be like, I think I know what that is.
Yeah.
I had like a little bit of, and I have
a sense, but
yeah, I have ADHD. So as soon as I get interested in something, I read and watch every single thing that there ever was ever about something. And
yeah, me too.
Some of it stays up there, some of it doesn't. But so it's just you do it and you sort of learn. It's like someone was talking to me the other day about snakes, and they were reeling off all these Latin names, and I was just like, no idea, mate. Like, not even going to pretend that I have a clue. Like, no idea. He's like, oh yeah, I used to, but I only really got into Latin when I started keeping monitors.
Yeah.
I used to have like I've had false water cobras, I've had retics, I've had berms, I've had boas, I've had a whole bunch of colubrids, corns, kings, milks, that sort of stuff. I've had a lot. But I was never really into Latin. I was just a keeper.
Well, and for snakes, you can get away with not having Latin more.
Well, it depends on what species you're working
once you
with.
start to get deeper into kind of more off the wall stuff, then you use it. But monitors are kind of Latin from point A, I find.
I felt like I had to start taking it seriously, because I almost felt like I had a chip on my shoulder when I started keeping monitors. Because it's almost like you become a very, very, very small fish in a very, 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 very big pond very quickly when you start keeping the varanids. And everybody, blanket term, almost wants to see you fail at the start because like, oh, who are you to keep monitors? At least that was my experience. That was my experience. And then I started getting into them and keeping them. And to be honest, I've had quite good success on social media. And now some of these people that didn't want to know me now want to be my best friend, and I find it hilarious.
For sure.
But that's why I started the social, because I just wanted to. I was keeping monitors for about 2 years before I started pulse monitors, and I hate the name pulse monitors. I was like, oh, just do pulse monitors, and then when I think of a good one, I'll change it. And then I just
stuck with it.
It took off, and I was like, I can't change it now.
They're stuck.
I feel you.
But I just wanted to help people because I had no one I could go to. And I was like, right, this is it. I'm gonna try and teach people that monitors they're not for everybody, but then they also can be with the right tools, money, time, experience, nothing's stopping you getting a captive bred tree monitor. Like, don't just go and buy one. But if you've got the money to set the setup up, you set the setup up for 6 months, get used to your temperatures, get used to your humidity, check it every single day, read every single book, speak to as many people as you can. Why can't you start with a tree monitor? Like, don't get me wrong, if you're 8, no offense to 8-year-olds, but financially you can't look after a monitor. But if you're in your own house, you're not going to go to uni anytime soon. You know, you've got a good job, you've got a spare couple of $100 a month. Why can't you start with a monitor? And that's what kind of was my whole mantra when I started this, because people just they just were like, no, you can't do this, you can't do this, and here we are still doing it. So yeah,
that makes sense. I actually had that question written down for you. Are monitors can monitors be good for beginners? But yeah, I think that's the perfect answer right there.
I mean,
the resources for it and done the research, then good enough. Yeah.
I think there is a different kind of commitment, and I think you end up getting into some crazy things as the process goes. You know, like suddenly you're breeding quail.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like the sub obsessions start to creep in.
It's hard with monitors because like I'm trying to champion this mindset of, because the reptile hobby, animals seem to be like throwaway. So you have this. Start with a bearded dragon. They're starter species. They're hard to kill. They're a beginner species. Then once you've earned your stripes with bearded dragon, start with an Aki. Okay, then you learn monitors a little bit. Okay, now you can go to a tree monitor. But if you don't want a bearded dragon and you don't want an Aki, why are we putting an animal's life through?
Just educate yourself properly before you dive in. You know, like people don't do that with their dogs. Oh, I have to start with a Chihuahua, you know,
to go up to
and then work my way up to a Cocker Spaniel, and then eventually, you know,
Great Danes or whatever. I'm trying to get to a place, and I'm not there yet, but I'm trying to get to a place where I see my reptiles as my dogs. So like, you buy a dog, and I've said it on my podcast, but you buy a dog and someone goes, I'll give you 10 grand for that dog. You go, no, it's my kid. No. But if someone offered me 10 grand for my Cenodactylus geckos, best believe I'm selling them. And that makes me feel sick. And that's the truth. But if someone offered me £1 million for my Mangrove monitor, I would laugh at you. There is not any money on this earth that I would sell my Mangrove monitor for. Like, and that people that know me know that I'm speaking the truth. And she probably is the only animal in my room that has no price tag. But you've got to be paying me over $1 million to buy my tree monitors. They're not worth that, but to me, they're priceless.
Yeah.
And that's for me to even contemplate it. Like, I'd like to think I'd turn down any sum of money for these animals that I'm trying to, because if in my head I'm like, okay, you have a monetary figure, this species isn't for me, because I'm trying to get to a place, which is a ludicrous ideology in the reptile hobby, but I'm trying to get to a place where everything has no value because they're my pets. They're not projects, they're my pets. And don't get me wrong, I breed and they are projects, but they have to be family first. And if I don't feel that way about them, like for example, Stenodactylus, love them, great, but they do have a price tag on them. Whereas some of my monitors, they just don't. They are invaluable, and I don't think I will ever get there. But
like I think one of the catches with reptiles, and I think non-mainstream pets in general, is you can be intrigued by something and feel like you want to work with it, and this is like totally the cat's meow, this is everything, and then you start to work with it and you realize some of the isms as you get into the nuances of the animal that don't necessarily suit
100%
your way of working, right? Like
I agree. It's hard.
I started when I got my white throat, she was a tiny little thing, I didn't have her very long, you know, and I totally madly, she was an animal that didn't have a price tag in my eyes. You know, it did not take long to get to that point. It was just for some reason, certain things just kind of line up.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You know? I was at my friend's the other day playing with his Rudicolus, Riddler Reptiles. So I was playing with his black roughneck monitor. And before, I'd seen them in person, but I've never interacted with them. And for people again that follow me know I'm quite an introspective person. The most simple things happen and I have to make a mountain of it and like figure it out in my head. It's the kind of person I am, and I like growing that way. So we've recently had an import into the UK of a bunch of wild caught monitors, captive farmed monitors, and rudicolis roughneck monitors was one of them. Little babies, tiny little spotty, stunning little animals. And I was like, oh, they would be a cool pet. Would be, you know, like we always do. Like, oh yeah, magpie, shiny, shiny, shiny. I went to my friend's house, started playing with his rudicolis, and don't get me wrong, amazing animal, incredible animal, but doesn't even make top 5 in my room.
Right.
And without interacting with it, I would have never have known that. And obviously, I'm very fortunate that I have a friend that has one. But Timmy, who's just seen the picture of the rudicolis, he doesn't know the nuance. He doesn't know. He's never interacted with it. He probably hasn't got a friend. You know, if someone messages me and goes, who I've never met before, Paul, can I come and play with your Mangrove monitor? I want to get one. No, this is my house. This is where my missus and my kids are. Like, I can't, my kid, you're not just going to come to my house. It's not a facility. It's not a zoo. Like, you can't expect just to bring a stranger around to your house and into your home because they want to see what a lizard's like, which is a shame, but that's the reality of the hobby.
It is the reality. No, they're actually a species I really like and ponder working with. But again, I won't. You get them and then you find out because they're just not common.
Well, this is the problem, and people don't necessarily share stuff
because their size is great.
Yeah.
Their size is great, and then there's a big difference between blacks and browns too.
Yeah. Browns are much smaller, and they tend to be calm. But like, the problem is, there's 2 different localities of rudicolis. The problem is with them, the importers will bring them in and be like, "Yeah, black roughneck."
Yeah.
Some are about 3 foot, and some are nearly 6 foot. So it's like, oh god, you know, same as peach throat monitors. You don't know the locality. Some males are 3.5 foot. Some males are pushing 6 foot. So it's a gamble.
From where they're collected.
Yeah, because they're different. They come from different islands in a little archipelago of like basically Indonesia. There's loads of different islands. So, for example, I believe Sarong peach throats get quite big, whereas like Wago Island peach throats don't get that big. And they think Jobiensis peach throats are their own species complex, but not enough work's been done yet because there's such a color, shape, size difference in amongst the same species. It's the same as like spinulosis, the spiny neck monitors, the Dwyeri, the coli, Juxtindicus, Dorindicus, all those kind of monitors, they all just used to be mangrove monitors. Chlorostigma, the Australian mangrove, they all just used to be indicus. And now that's like 6 different species that have come from one because they were so different, but no one had done the like taxonomy on them to figure out what they were. And they think peach throats will be the same, which is kind of worrying because if I get a male for my female, the chances are it'll be a different island locality. So then you start potentially crossing subspecies without even knowing. And then we end up like we have with leopard geckos, like 7 subspecies into one animal that's nowhere near the wild. So, yeah.
That's peach throats were something it's something I'm interested in, but I just I never had experience with them. Like, how do you find them like socially? Like, how do you find them comparatively to?
So my peach throat, I only have one. I've only ever worked with one, and I've had her for about a year and a half now. She's still young. She's only coming to 2. Once she's out of the enclosure, within a second, she is calm as you like. She sit on your head, really, you know, she's eating food off like my shoulder now. You know, she doesn't try and run away. The tongue's going. You can play with her and interact with her. But in the Viv, she's a psychopath and she just freaks and runs around. But there are people like Skylar, Peach Throat Passion, and Logan on Instagram, and their peach throats are coming out like chasing food. And Logan, you know, so it's again, every animal is an individual. And mine just tends to be quite cage shy. But I think they're a lot better than mangroves. The problem is they get bigger. That's the problem. But they're a lot more colorful. They're a lot more inquisitive. They're a lot more like almost cocksure of themselves, whereas a mangrove just wants to puff and get away. A peach throat will try to figure you out.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can get them into that thinking process, which is quite
That's
nice.
cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
I really like them. They're a stunning animal. You know, mine's got the most electric blues down her tail and flexing her feet. She's got like vibrant yellowy orange spots on her back. You know, bright blue tail, massive eyes with a tiny little head, so it looks like, you know, almost avian, like bird-like. They're a stunning species. I'd love to get a couple more, but the problem is space. You know.
100%. That's when I'm feeling like a reasonable, rational human being, space comes into.
Which is never the case.
Once in a while, space comes into effect. You know, like even my Savannah, she free roams my basement. You know, she has her enclosure where she can get her humidity, get all that. She can do a dunk, whatever. But, you know, I just never felt like she would have the space she needed. Yeah, she climbs everything. She's an absolute disaster. But I love her for it too, right? So it's kind of a catch, you know. So you start it's affected how I care for my other animals, because when I have a flighty animal that I'm trying to work with, I also realize I have something that could eat it somewhere around me, right?
Yeah.
So that changes.
Talking about flighty animals and like a baby quail running around.
Well, the baby quail, even the adult quail wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
No. But you know, my black tree, my Bakari, you know, he's young. Well, if she could catch him, he's fast as lightning. But if she could catch him, she could take him down.
No problem. The problem is with monitors, they make you feel guilty because they're so smart and they're so active.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep them captives. Like tree monitors are a completely different level. Like the Indonesian monitors are so much smarter than the Australian and the African monitors. They just
didn't realize that until I got my Bakari.
Yeah, they're different.
I was just like, wow, this is
night and day.
Totally different level.
Yeah, they will make a savannah monitor look like a bearded dragon.
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah.
So my Mangrove, right? Mango, Instagram's most famous Mangrove.
I have a bunch of questions written about Mango. It's coming
up. Okay. Mango. Obviously, monitors are incredible at person recognition. They just are. Mango will see me. She's learned that I don't put up with her rubbish, and she'll sort of at me as if to say, like, what's going on? Are we going to dance today or what? And my now fiance walks into the room, and Mango will be at the glass, pacing, pushing, like butting, like as if to say, like, I don't like you. My tree monitors, Kada, my small green, the young female, she'll launch herself 4 foot to land on me. As soon as she sees food, she comes, stops what she's doing. If anybody else is in the room, she'll instantly, she's like, well, something's wrong. And they can stand around the corner and she'll stick her head around the Viv and she'll look around the corner like that and watch where these people are.
Yeah.
And, you know, I recently uploaded a video, which to me is just common knowledge, but her reaching down into the test tube and digging the bug up. The amount of people that lost their mind, like, how, you know, and it blows my mind because these animals are captive bred. Cada's an F2 or an F3 captive bred. You know, and they have this innate learnt behavior that they just stick their arm in stuff and fish stuff out. You know, it's not observed because obviously she's been alone her entire life. And my friend who bred her, Matt, he has videos of babies that are like 3 weeks old digging into cork tubes. And with the Audatria, with the dwarf monitors, it's always just, and even the African monitors, it's just like, feed me. Oh, you've got food? Have you got, like, they're like happy to like food. Whereas the Indonesian monitors, they're like, are you going to try and kill me? What are you doing today? Have you got food? Who are you? I've not seen you before. Today's not this. Like, they can pick up on routine. Whereas I could have just fed my Akis, undo the door again. They're like, we're getting fed. We're going to get fed. You're going to feed me? Like, we're going to get fed. Whereas the Indonesians, they're like, well, you've just fed me and you don't feed me twice. And they like watch and they posture and they'll tilt their heads and their eyes are always, you know, the problem is with monitors, all reptiles are smart, but monitors are smart enough and act smart enough for humans to perceive that they're doing something, so we deem them as smart because they're intelligent enough for us to see that they're intelligent. But yeah, they if you don't seen the videos of like Nile monitors and Mertens monitors, they use their tails to like make fishing traps, and they use it and they herd fish, and they bring fish onto shore.
I've never seen that. That's crazy.
Mate, it's mind blowing. And they literally they'll be at the corner of like I don't know, a lake, I guess, and they'll get their tail and then they'll move themselves around like that. So their tail obviously goes back round on themselves, and then they just walk, and obviously they drag the fish onto land and just eat. Like
for real. No, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Super smart. Like all monitors are smart. Like, well, I did a puzzle feeder with Mango, so just to move the bits. I did it with my Savannah monitor. My Savannah monitor,
a dog puzzle feeder.
Yeah, exactly, a dog puzzle one. My Savannah monitor moved the first one, got the food, clicked. I was like, oh, move the second one, got the food, but then just kept picking up the scent of the same. So it was just biting at the puzzle.
Yeah.
Mango literally, once she figured out she could move it with her claw, moved every single one like that.
Yeah.
Like just, like someone doing a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Second she figured it out, she was so keyed in on it. And it's, it's hard to perceive intelligence because obviously I don't know what's going on in their minds. The same as my Cenodactylus. They could be geniuses.
It's just relatable. It's relatable intelligence.
I've been keeping them long enough. I promise you they're not.
This is what I'm saying. But with the monitors,
I don't know. I think Fatty can relate to their intelligence.
That's why he loves them so much.
Exactly.
I'm with my people.
Yeah.
It's not why I keep monitors, because I feel dumb sometimes. And like I have a big purple box which I keep my roaches in, and I put the box down, and I hardly ever feed from my roach bin ever. I normally dig out, put into I have protein shakers with calcium, so I'll put them in the protein shakers with a blue lid. And when the monitors see the blue lidded protein shaker, they go crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas I always do the purple box down off the top of the Viv, and sometimes I'm just feeding the roaches or doing roach maintenance. The monitors don't bat an eyelid. The bearded dragon, he's like, oh my god, purple food, oh my god.
Yeah.
And obviously he doesn't get fed, so he's just wasted 20 minutes pacing.
Yeah.
Whereas the monitors, they know they don't get fed until they hear and see the blue protein shaker.
Right. Yeah.
And they've made that difference, like that distinguishing, whatever that word. They've made that decision that the purple's not always food. We don't need to waste our time. Yeah. But then as soon as they see the blue, they're like, okay, it's go time.
Okay.
Distinction.
Do you think they see
distinction?
Color?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, they did a test on Savannah monitors. I think it was a red and a blue ball, and they basically put food behind one of the colors, and every time the Savannah went there, they gave them the food, and then they got these Savannahs to do it 10 out of 10 times. And in my opinion, Savannahs are quite simple monitors. They're not up there in the intelligence rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not dumb, but when you start to compare to the tree monitors
with
and
some of the others,
and then they swapped the colors, and then they put the food behind the red instead of the blue, and the Savannahs went to the blue, no food, so went just straight to the red because they figured out they had to go and do something for food.
Mm-hmm.
And then have also been observed, same as bearded dragons to be fair, but they've been observed watching other monitors do things, and then they can just do the same behavior. But bearded dragons can do that too. So they can learn as well as they'll watch. And my Savannah has this is a mad one as well, another exclusive because Instagram don't know about it. I came home one day and I had stuff everywhere, and I was like, who's out? Because you just know. I'm like, who's out? And I was looking around, and as I turned back around, my Savannah had just taken herself back off. So she'd let herself out, picked the lock, got herself out, roamed around the room, and then taken herself home. I have a big reptile room. So for her to actually go around, and there was stuff everywhere. So she went everywhere. Yeah, okay, call it luck. She ended up getting back into her Viv. But yeah, she literally took herself out for the day and then took herself back to but she's never done that because yours is a free roam, so it's used to it. Mine's never done that.
When I got mine not that long ago as an adult, and
It's fascinating.
It did not take. So I kind of let her roam around fairly early on, but she'd kind of hide, and I'd start to freak out because I was like, she's going to get too cold, and then she's not going to get back, all that. And then once she got used to the room, I started to realize every time she wanted to warm up, she'd go back to her enclosure. I made a little ramp for her. She'd go back, warm up, and bug her back off again. And so now that's her home zone. And then she just goes and wreaks havoc.
That's smart.
She puts herself to bed at 7:30 every night.
Crazy.
Like clockwork. Clockwork.
Crazy.
She puts
My
herself
friend
in.
Rudicolis does that. Tucks herself in under the piece of wood that he's given her like a bed.
Yeah. It's
so smart.
So cool. Yeah.
Smart
And it's terribly convenient. Now I don't have to look underneath everything.
Yeah, mine. I don't know about yours. Mine always uses the toilet in the water bowl as well, so it just makes my life easy.
So mine does, but when I have a big tub and it's got a drainage system on it, and it doesn't work the greatest. So if I don't change her water quickly enough, she will come out in the morning and she will go to the bathroom right in front of my chair at my desk. So because that's where I am. So she comes up for pats through the day and stuff, and she comes in, she takes a big dump right there.
You for not cleaning the water bowl or something.
They are silly smart.
And boy, does it stink.
Well, I keep mangroves that eat fish, so
that's worse.
After they spray it everywhere, because it's never a nice solid stool when it comes to mangroves that have had fish. It's just all over the basket spot, and then you've got to go in there and hose it. Yeah, it's horrible. Real labor of love.
Also go in the water bowl?
Yeah, they go everywhere. They don't really care. Yeah,
Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, they don't have the trees, as it were. The tree monitors, again, like I've watched my male tree monitor like angle towards the glass and just go urate everywhere, and it's like, they're not as. The Ackies are pretty good. The Ackies tend to do a similar area. The Savannahs, so I have a little tiny, I say tiny, it's about this big water bowl that I change like every single day, twice a day, because it gets caked. Then I have a bigger tub, which I change every 2 or 3 days. But yeah, if she poos in it, I change it straight away. Mine's not as fussy as yours, and just waits at the glass. It's like, come on, I need the toilet. But yeah, so I do that with most of my monitors. I have the little water bowls that I can change every single day, like twice a day. And then I have bigger ones, like the mangroves have big ponds, but I only do the ponds like once a week. And just go through it and change the ponds once a week. My adult mangrove, she Mango, she'd rather sit in like in a rub. She has a little 5-liter rub which I change every day, and then she has a what? A rub? Oh, a Rubbermaid. Rub. Yeah. So basically we could really use for boxes, so rub. But like what people keep the Royals in, those little tubs with the blue clips. Yes. So I have a little 5-liter one, so it's tiny. That changed every day. And she has a heated, filtered, pumped pond, which is, I don't know how much it is, like 100 liters or what. It's huge. It's like 4 foot long, 2 and a bit foot wide, 2 and a bit foot tall. Like, it's a big pond. She barely uses the pond and just sits in the tub. And it's like, what's the point? So, yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, that's funny.
So you have mango.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other mangroves?
Yeah, so I've got mango, speck, mungo, and hopper. So I have 4. I had 6, but I moved on a pair because I didn't need. Had mango, and then we had an import come in because mangroves are pretty rare here. So I brought 5. The plan was to never keep all 5. The plan was to get my sex ratios that I needed.
Right.
And now I have my sex ratios that I need. I moved on a pair to someone who used to keep croc monitors, and now he's getting into mangroves. So I moved on my older pair to him. And I have 2 babies, 1 juvenile, and then obviously Mango, the adult female. So I have 4.
Okay, so Mango is the only adult.
Yeah.
And is Mango full grown now?
Yeah, so she's been with me 3 years. She's not grown much. So she's probably right around 6, I would have thought. It's hard to know because I got her as an adult and she's wild.
She wild caught. Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect. I'm actually setting the scene to ask the perfect question here. Okay, so, so she's wild caught.
This better be good. This better be a good question.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna originally ask if the other ones had the same reaction to you as well, but I guess if they're not adults yet, it kind of
no. So there's only the UK has never ever had a captive mangrove ever.
Okay.
I'll touch wood be the first. Europe.
Do you have eggs?
No, he only has one adult female.
No comment.
So he doesn't have a boy.
He said no comment. Okay, anyway, we're gonna leave.
They're parthenogenic.
Are they?
So yeah.
Or they can be, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay.
Yeah,
not,
but no.
There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee they'll turn into anything.
Perfect,
so yeah.
Never mind. I think we got the hints we needed. Continue.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So
yeah, so they're all wild. But Mango, she wasn't in the best of setups when I got her, as in before she came to me.
Okay.
She was in a 4 foot long, 3 foot deep, 1 foot tall with nothing but a red bulb. And she, there's a running theme that she's the spawn of Satan, like she's the Antichrist because she's just so sadistic, like she just evil, you know. She's a very, 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 very defensive lizard. And I've taken a lot of time and energy in just learning her, letting her be, giving her the time, giving her the space. She's always been out. She's never been like a recluse. She's always been out and about. She's always active. She's always tongue fed, but she's also always tried to kill me every time I undo the door. So the babies, you don't really, I've had them now. I got them in December, so nearly a year. Don't really see them, if I'm honest. It's like keeping moles. They live underground. The food disappears. I might see a tail in a cork tube. They're very boring species as babies because they're shy. I'm hoping captive bred will be different, but you get me back on in January and I'll let you know.
Done. Yeah. Okay. So I guess do you know roughly how long it takes for them to kind of grow up and get out of that phase where they're maybe not the prey in the area, so they're like a little bit less shy?
I imagine as they start to reach sub-adulthood, so I imagine between 2 to 4, males growing quicker and bigger than females. Female monitors are naturally shyer species. Female monitors are naturally the shyer sex anyway. Males tend to be bolder. It just tends to be how it is. Not always, but you can normally rely on a male being more bold. But once they reach the point where they're big enough that you're not going to eat them, then they get a bit more cocky and they'll come out. But where they're from, you know, they've got Dorianus, they've got big snakes, they've got croc monitors, they've got crocodiles, you know, so they're very much on the menu. So
they're lower on the food chain.
Yeah, especially as babies. So they're going to go to ground where there's not a lot, you know, water. You've got snakes, you've got fish, you've got crocs, you've got other monitors up in the trees, you've got other monitors, you've got birds. So they go to ground where they're safer, they can forage on the bugs, they get bigger, they start to come out. Like the mangrove types, they're like the 4x4s, you know, they swim, they climb, they dig, they do the lot, but as babies, they're quite shy, and people tend to get them, put them in fish tanks with nothing in there, and they end up just having their spirits broken and end up becoming social, if we're going to call it that. Whereas I keep them deep soil, live plants, and just leave them to it. I'm in no rush to see them because it's not, they're a wild animal. They don't, obviously at some point they have to transition to being into captivity. Of course they do, but these animals hopefully will live 25 years. I'm in no rush. So, yeah.
So, so the question is, after that, so it was basically you working with Mango and putting time in to be able to get it to like just watching the videos of you tongue feeding her is fascinating. The way she chases it around the room, it's almost like so seeing Wilma do it and getting to feed Wilma.
Wilma's my Savannah.
Wilma's Savannah. Getting to feed Wilma was like crazy experience, and I had never seen anything like it. And I was like, okay, I did not know that they were like that. Was like, okay, they're geniuses. These animals are really smart. And then I saw the video of Mango, and I was like, mind blowing. So it even if she's I don't know what she said, the spawn of Satan or whatever.
She's not a very nice lizard.
But she still is willing to work with you and follow you around.
I'm very good at listening to a lizard that doesn't talk. Let's just put it that way. I give her a respect. I don't like a lot of people. Like I different realm now, but I'm a spiritual person, and I don't need ego. I don't need to be like, well, yeah, look at my lizard. I don't need that. I don't get personally. I don't. If that's for you, cool. I don't. Live and let live. It's your hobby. Enjoy it. But for me personally, she doesn't enjoy that, so I never do it.
Yeah.
And she's learned that I don't mess with her unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I don't like you, and I hate my life. But you're not too bad. So
and you feed me.
Yeah. Whereas Fee, she Fee's energy around Mango because Fee's never liked Mango. Mango knows that. So, and there's always a running joke that like I would get rid of Fee before I got rid of Mango because Mango is like my child. She's different. I have this spiritual bond with her, and I don't know. She came into my life at a really rough time. And it was a rough time for her too, and we both came out of the other side of it almost together. And there's this like symbiotic bond, if you like, and this understanding and figuring out of each other over the last 3 years. And I know a lot of people get it with dogs and horses, and I've never really experienced it before, but I really experienced it with her. And I can't really explain it. I think if you understand, you understand, but I can almost see what she is doing. The mangroves are really hard to breed. They're known to attack each other when you put them together. Getting them to cycle is an absolute nightmare. I've had 7 clutches from Mango, and I've pinpointed it to the day 6 times. Like, it's not luck. It's I have this. Don't get me wrong. I probably won't be able to do it with any other lizard. I'm not be like, I just have this bond with Mango that I can't explain. It's just like this weird thing that we have. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're in tune with her cycle.
No, I am. I started reading her behaviors, and it's kind of almost like reading her mind. Yeah, I get that.
You need to do that when you're a reptile keeper, full stop. Especially with the piranhas. Like I'm an electrician. I need my hands to work. If I'm in there pushing my luck and trying to be the big cool guy to get a clip for Instagram, which I do, but one bite on my finger is gonna put me out of work, and that's no money, then I can't pay the bills and I can't feed the lizards. So I wear gloves sometimes when I handle her. You
do what you do. Like the ego of I can't put gloves on because I'm not. I have a pair of Kevlar gloves that go on for certain instances.
I don't wear gloves.
He doesn't wear gloves. His stenos. He doesn't wear gloves.
You're crazy if you don't wear gloves playing with them geckos. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. You do that every time I see mine. I like shudder how scary they are. So
the way
you go the full suit.
They do this.
When they wiggle their tails, I'm like, whoa! I don't want no trouble. No trouble.
Yeah. No, it's funny. So, any more monitor questions? Because I might jump off the monitors.
Oh, you just go around, man.
Yeah, okay,
doesn't matter.
Cool. So
I'll bring it back when I want to.
Okay, cool. So on since just out of curiosity. So I don't speak to many keepers in the UK very often. Do you see, just based on like pictures of other people's enclosures in Australia or here in Canada or anywhere else around the world, do you think that you guys over there keep things a little bit differently than we do, or do you think it's all generally the same? Sorry for putting you on the spot with that.
No.
That's a tough one, actually.
No, I've got the answer straight away, but I'm going to get cancelled for saying it.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
Europe's ahead.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
We're
if anyone argues that, they are just kidding themselves.
And I don't mean me. I'm just going to say the hobby.
Right.
The UK and Europe. Let's put it this way. If I looked at 100 UK enclosures, just as an average, 100 people on Instagram sent me their enclosure in comparison to 100 people in America, I can guarantee you, let's just say Bearded Dragons, 90% of them over here would be in wooden vivariums with UVB and halogens, whereas the Americans, I imagine, would be fish tanks. And glass, nothing wrong with glass. It's just the sizing, and red bulbs are common practice in America, and it's like, well, we know that they're bad. Over here, we love LEDs, and myself included. We push full spectrum lighting, whereas a lot of people in America are like, yeah, monitors don't even need UVB, and it's like these are animals that live in the sun, and just because they survive without it, you're telling me like I can survive without water. I'm on the Fanta today, so I'm also overweight. It's I can survive without eating vegetables, but what? And again, as someone who's very open on my, well, exactly. I'd like to think about the mental health side of it. I have my own issues, and I'm very open about them. I don't shy away from it. Just because an animal is eating, shedding, and breeding, I was eating, shedding, and breeding when I was depressed. So why, just because we don't know what's going on in their heads? I don't speak lizard. So for me, I try my best to give them what they would expect when they come out of the egg or are born in the wild. And I think a lot of Europeans have a similar philosophy. It's, animal welfare. Whereas I think not so much Australia, but I think America, as an average, at least from a UK looking in, of course, I'm not there. I think the Americans almost feel like it's a right to own reptiles, and I can do what I want. Whereas over here, we see it as a privilege. At least that's how I see it. I could be wrong. I'm not in America.
I can definitely see that. There's definitely still some of an older school.
It's a good answer.
It's a very good answer. Yeah. I think
Cancelled.
I think in Canada we're kind of somewhere in between, just due to the fact that our weather is so.
I would say the Canadians
mediocre.
are closer to Europe, if I'm honest. And I think Australians are so in tune with their herpetofauna, because obviously they can only really keep natives.
They can keep their stuff, so they know it if they're interested.
Yeah. And the Australians,
and they can keep outside. I'm so jealous.
And I think they go, well, I've seen a bearded dragon. I know how to keep a bearded dragon. Whereas I've never been to Australia. I don't know what it feels like to be in the Kimberley. I don't know what it feels like to be like, in Darwin or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Never been to Indonesia. I've not experienced that climate. I don't know. Whereas if you are, the Australians almost have this cheat code, because admittedly, fine, you might not live where Akis are from, but you'll probably. So I think they're
driven through there.
they're a different. They're almost like a different kettle of fish. But I feel like I get a lot of rebuttal from Americans on social media, in regards to the way I think. And again, it's my hobby and my opinions, and everyone's entitled to their own. But the way I think we should be keeping reptiles, monitors, I get people in the UK, they go, oh my God, I'll change it tomorrow. Like, I'll go. Whereas I get a lot of Americans that are like, well, they don't need that, do they? And I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. I'm here to just try and help. And if you're not going to accept the help, then politely go away, because I'm not getting paid to help. I'm just doing it because I care about the lizards. I'm an introvert like most of us. I don't really like people. I like animals, and I'm trying to help the animals. And you can't argue benefits of UVB, so why not give it? Whereas a lot of Americans are like, but my lizard's been alive for 20 years without it. And it's like, okay, but it will benefit.
Yeah, and you might have been one of the lucky ones,
Yeah. I keep my geckos under bloody. My Stenodactylus have got UVB and halogens. Like all of my geckos, my binos, my knobtails, they're all under UVB and halogens because I'm a nerd. And LEDs, actually. They've all got LEDs.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I keep. I
And you're wealthy by the sounds of it.
I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. I can guarantee you I'm not. And I can't say, LEDs, halogens, UVB for my Akis, and then all of a sudden keep my stenos in a rack.
Yeah.
I can't do that, because I can, of course I can, but then I can't be a public figure and be like, oh, do this, and then I'm not doing it.
Yeah, just a hypocrite at that point.
So, I only practice what I preach. And another problem with the online thing is I change my mind like the weather, you know, like one day I want a black tree, one day I want a peach throat, next thing I'm going to eat geckos. And because I share it publicly, I get obviously rebuttal, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Whereas we all are in the same boat. I'm just the idiot that shares it online.
Yeah.
But
I've often said that about you. Yeah.
That's how I'm known. But
No, it's true though. You know, like even sometimes I'll post something up and it's incredible the reaction you get. Where if you had the opportunity to actually talk to the person in real life, that you'd never get anything close to it.
Just quickly on this, like I had someone.
Sorry,
fine, we're going now. I had someone comment on like my tree monitor viv. So my young tree monitor, she's in a 4 foot tall, 3 foot wide, 2 foot deep, like grow out enclosure, and she's probably with her tail, she's probably closing on a bit over a foot long now. So she's not big at all, and obviously head and body, she's only going to be this big in a long tail.
Yeah.
And someone commented saying, "Oh, what size is this enclosure? Or what size enclosures do you keep in?" And someone replied, "Going small ones." And I was like, normally I don't reply to hate, I don't give it energy, but I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, "Oh, that's tiny for a Prasinus." I said, "I agree, but it's also a baby. That's why it's a year old, but it's a baby." And then he was like, "Oh, well, your mangrove enclosure is only, what did he say? 6 foot long, 2 foot deep, 4 foot tall." I was like, "It's 6 foot long, 4 foot deep, 6 foot tall, not 6 foot long, 2 foot deep, 4 foot tall." And my mangrove's 28 inches total length. So the enclosure is like 4 times, 5 times longer than her, pretty much every direction. And then he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize." And I'm like, "You could have just messaged me and been like, hey man, like you didn't have to be a twat on an Instagram."
Yeah.
You know,
people want to be. People want to be. That's the catch, right?
And they don't expect you to like come back. And again, I share everything. Like, there's no secrets in my room. Like, it's not like I have a corner of my reptile room where, I don't know, I've got that one lizard without UVB. Like,
it's the dark corner.
Nobody tell anybody. And again, even if I did, it's my hobby. I can, again, I don't care, you know, like if you're keeping racks, cool, it's your hobby. If you're enjoying it, don't let anybody stop it. Just because I don't agree with it, that doesn't matter. Like, we're allowed opinions and we're allowed to be friends. Like that's kind of where the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like, I don't care how anybody keeps. I used to get like on a bit of a high horse, and I was like, oh, you know, these animals deserve better. But then I kind of realized that I've never been pushy, and I've never been like, oh, you're disgusting for doing that. I've always been like, hey, this can benefit. Because obviously the second you start belittling someone, they're never going to listen, and only the animal suffers, you know. And but nowadays I don't even talk about it. I just keep how I keep. If people are interested, they'll message. You know, I don't try and push anything anymore, because it's just such a waste of my energy to be like LEDs for everybody. Like, you know, so it's social media is really not all it's cracked up to be.
No, it is. It is an interesting journey on it. You know, like you can get really attacked on one thing, or
next goal is to get Greg cancelled.
Yeah, that won't be hard.
It won't take. No, honestly, like for me,
I thought it was going to happen when I posted a video of my white throat on my.
Or the one on your farm, and
then that went the opposite way. You know.
Okay.
But I put it up there as an educational thing, and all I was trying to say was, oh, you know what? Like, this is not her mistake. This is my mistake. Is the lesson I was trying to put out there. Nobody saw that lesson at all, and I still get 100 messages a day, people attacking each other, and I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of sad.
People don't like. You get these people, like you get the people at the very, very top of a tree that they've put themselves there, the top of the hill, if you like. And, they're keeping naturalistically full spectrum lighting and all this other fun stuff. And normally they're under 20 or under 25. I mean, I'm not miles away. I'm 29, but normally they're under 25 and they've not done any groundwork, and they've just started, and they're standing on the shoulders of giants, and they're completely forgetting that they're standing on the shoulders of giants that have figured it all out for them. And then they're throwing stones, and they're like, oh yeah, you should do that. Like, you have no right. You're very lucky that you've come into the reptile hobby where it is, because it's amazing where it is. Like, we have so much technology now, it's incredible. But don't forget where people have come from. And you get the other end of the old school mentality, which again is completely fine. And well, I've been doing this for 50 years and I've never had an animal die outside of old age. So why would I change? Which again, cool. And then the problem is if you're in the middle, like I am, each side, and I'm closer to the naturalism side, each side tries to pull you, and you get it no matter what. You talk veganism, you talk racism, no matter what you talk.
Yeah, any topic has it. Yeah.
If you're in the middle, you're fair game, and they try and suck you to either side, and you can't exist in the middle. And I think because I do exist in the middle, and I'm just unapologetically myself, and I'll just be like my opinion. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that kind of does make sense actually. That it's just a hobby, and we can enjoy it, and as long as we're trying to benefit the lives of these animals, then it's great. Whereas some people are just like, oh, you can't keep like that, it's disgusting. And other people are like, oh yeah, you just stick it in a tub, and I don't care. I've got giving it energy is the worst thing you can do. Because people on both ends, because you'll never get a person to change sides the whole time that you're fighting with them. So
no, 100%. And and there sometimes people are just fighting. There's that little kind of adage that pops up once in a while that's I knew I was wrong 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But I'm still fighting for it. I'm still arguing. Sometimes it's for the sheer like trying to piss someone off. That sometimes there's a lot of variables.
100%.
But yeah, it is kind of funny. Like the one that gets me is a lot of I hear it more from the Americans than Canadians. Old head.
The old heads.
The old heads. Okay. And they're like the old keepers. And I hit that point where I'm like, well, am I an old head? Yes. Yeah. I generationally, I'm on the cusp of 50. But I still keep I believe I keep with the times, but it doesn't mean everything I learned in the past I wipe away either, because we do things a little bit differently.
I do stuff in here. I do stuff in my room that I wouldn't, like the UVI that I keep my toad heads under. I wouldn't suggest that, but they come from like literally the middle of the desert, so keeping them like just at like 4 UVI. So I do. But then you don't learn stuff about trying to pioneer it. Like the old heads, I got nothing but love for the old heads because they paved the way so I could end up where I am. Why would I like poo on that? Why would I be like, thank you so much for all the legwork you did trying to figure out how to keep monitors alive, but you're all rubbish because you don't use UVB. Why would I do that? Like, and the thing is as well, it's like my son, he's 6 next week. So he's very young, potentially coming into the hobby. I hope he comes into the hobby. But anyway, let's say he does. If I'm like, oh yeah, these people, they're rubbish and this is how we have to do it. Like, you don't allow that freedom of speech and like exploratory, like, oh dad, I want to try and keep this and I want to try and keep it this way and tinker around and see how this works and see all this. And
and that's part of the charm of it.
We've lost our way, and I've said it many a times. I said I could disappear. I could disappear tomorrow. I was a nobody 2 years ago. I could be a nobody again tomorrow. And I would enjoy my reptiles because I have my reptiles for my reptiles. I don't have my reptiles for any other reason.
Yeah, they're not for social media.
100%. Like the hobby, the noise of the hobby, I got sucked into it from joining social media, and honestly, like made me want to quit it all. And I was going to, and you had obviously nice people that messaged me like, "Oh no, we love your stuff, this, that, and the other." And you almost lose sight of the good because you get so caught up in the bad. And
and you get caught up with what gets views too, like, and
100%.
And it's like, one sec, this isn't really what I want to be doing, but I'm forcing myself into.
100%. I've just had that recently. I've taken a back step from YouTube. It's been great. Like, I just,
and then we dragged you on here.
Honestly, this podcast, love it. So I have my podcast every week, love it. Making a YouTube video, it's like, bothered, like, unless
it's crazy.
I've just had 15 Gillenite hatch and 10 Ackies hatch within 3 days of each other, like all at once. And obviously, great video.
Yeah.
Can't be bothered.
Yeah.
I have made a video, but the video is terrible. And people that know me and like me for me and my unapologetic self, but that video is never going viral. That video, it's never going to go.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to like.
But if it's fun to
You
share, Fatty's been trying to get me to make YouTube content for years, and because I build a lot of stuff, and
he builds enclosures that really there isn't that many tutorials online.
And it's just so exhausting.
But you never know. Like I put out like random videos on like fish breeding stuff that I threw together in 2 days because of selling some fish, and I was like, okay, here's the video on how to do it, and that's my best performing video right now. So like you really never know.
Yeah.
YouTube's a weird bit. Instagram, I figured Instagram out. Instagram's easy. YouTube is a completely different entity. No idea on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're interesting. Part of the fun, just like in reptiles, part of the fun is figuring it out. Part of social media, part of the fun is figuring it out and looking at the algorithms and the
Instagram tickled my fancy.
Yeah, I like Instagram.
I was like, okay, and I started to try and work out the algorithm. And researching this and that, and that I had fun with, but
YouTube. I think because I got monetized this year on YouTube, and because now don't get me wrong, I make literally I make about £3 per podcast, so it's not like it's money. So without any super chats, I generally get about £3 a podcast, and most of my podcasts are limited ads because I swear a lot and talk about hot topics that you're not allowed to talk about online.
Right.
So I even my £3 sometimes gets halved anyway, because there's a monetary figure to it. It almost makes me lose my passion for it. Whereas Instagram, I get nothing. I've made 2p. I've had millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of views on Instagram. I generally have made 2p on Instagram. But I love it.
Anything up
here.
It honestly, once you start making money, I found I lost my love for it, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It just becomes a job.
Yeah, and I generally felt like it was a chore. And I pay for StreamYard. It cost me £45 a month. I pay for a podcast hosting site. It was £15 a month. So you're running at a loss every single month until you start making the money. But the money I make from YouTube just about covers the money. So I effectively make nothing. Yeah. So I pay £45 a month for StreamYard, and then it's £15 for the podcast host to have it on the streaming sites. And then I make about £70 a month on YouTube. So effectively,
this is going off topic. But what host do you use?
Podbean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm using Captivate.
I haven't heard of Captivate. Okay. I was going to use Buzzsprout, but my podcasts go for 3 to 4 hours normally.
And there's a
limit.
Yeah. And I was like, no. But Podbean's unlimited, I think. So for me, that was ideal.
Well.
Yeah. So I don't mind it. I mean, I don't check it. I upload a podcast to it, and then that's that. I don't check any of the metrics and the analytics. I don't touch it. Once it's in the internet, that's it, done.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, the work's done.
Yeah, I don't bother.
Before we do let you go, I will also throw in there that I've actually been to the native range of the Toad-headed in the Bahamas.
Oh, nice.
I didn't see any. But I've seen they were supposedly all around us. We just didn't see any. So remind me, I'll send you the video and check it out. Just if you want to.
Please do. Yeah. Send it across. Please do.
I think a lot of people are surprised. Oh, look at the mountain dragons bobbing her head. Sorry. I think a lot of people are surprised.
That's his pitch for dragons.
That's why. A lot of people are surprised by what it looks like and how different we're keeping it. And I think another thing is it's super, super, super humid over there, by the way. Some people aren't considering it super humid.
That's what I was told.
So,
and it's trying to dance between being very hot, humid, but dry.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas my room sits at 65% anyway. So my room's pretty humid anyway. It gets down to 85% humidity at night, my room.
Wow.
So it's pretty. I have to run AC in the summer, but other than that, it's pretty spectacular. But I give mine a little mist down in the mornings to simulate dew. Obviously when it naturally gets cooler, and then obviously as it heats off, it burns off. But then stays humid, but then they stay dry. Because if you end up, it's so weird. If you end up getting them a little bit wet, they literally wipe their face in the sand. They like bury their head, like almost like a towel. They're like, no, I don't want to be wet. Yeah, they're weird little creatures. I don't have the whiteheads. I have the Przowski, I think they are. They're like smaller, more colourful species, but they still have the little flares, but they're not the wide. They're not the true wide mouth.
When they wag their tail, is it the curl?
They do both. They do curl and they do side to side.
Side to side. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they do both. Awesome. Honestly, crazy. I'm hoping they're a 1.2. I've got some vent shots because 2 of them were like rearing off at each other, but mine still aren't adults. But they were like rearing off at each other, curling and wagging the tail. And because I'm still new to the species, I'm like, is this good or is this bad? There was no biting or anything, and I know agamas tend to be biters when they're unhappy, so I just left them. I watched it, took a video, and left them to it. And there was no chasing or anything. I was like, all right, I'll just leave you to it for now. But yeah, they're another underrated species. They
were actually at the last expo.
They're really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. I very underestimated them. They always active, always doing something. I have a bit of wood in there that goes right up underneath the UVB, so they can climb right under the UVI if they really want to like sun themselves, and that's like their favorite spot. Sadly, they poo a lot, but the poo is like bone dry, so it's fine. Just have a sand sifter. It's easy.
It's like the Stenodactylus as well.
Yeah, but they poo a lot for a desert species. In my head, I thought they'd be retaining that, but yeah, they poo a lot.
That's what the sand's made out of.
Just toad-headed agama. Yeah, it's like the back guano caves, but just urate scattered everywhere. But yeah, they're a very cool species. They're maybe even my favorite in my room, if I'm honest. They're really cool.
So if I see them, get them.
The ones I can't talk for any other species other than the ones I have. I think it's pronounced like Przowski because I remember Mike Wazowski.
Yeah.
I think it's like Przowski or Przowski or something like that. I'll just say it with my chest and pretend I know. So Przowski.
Yeah.
And then they've got like a black dorsal stripe, and one of mine is burgundy, one of mine is orange, and the other one is still they're super colourful, like jet black stripe down the back, and then like coloured flanks. They're not like just the brown ones like the whiteheads.
I was about to say the ones I just saw were like a beigey brown.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
No, these are super colourful, and they're much smaller as well. So you can have like 2.4 in like a 4x2x2, and it's knowing me, it'll be a 6x2, but it's mine are in a 4x1 at the minute. There's 3 of them, but they're only head and body maybe like 4 inches at the minute. They're still very small, and I think they get about like 8 inches. So they're not with and then tail, so they're not a big species. Whereas the wide mouths are like bearded dragon size. So.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really cool. I
prefer the small ones as well. Yeah,
really cool. And they still bury themselves. Like I remember I was sand sifting, sifting through the sand, and it's just the toad head. I'm like, oh god, just didn't know.
Yeah.
Because you're just sifting through the sand, and because I have quite a deep layer in there, and they dig around and they throw sand everywhere, and like I say, they coil and fully wag tail. Go crazy for food, like jump, like physically. They chase soldierfly larva flies, soldierfly flies. And they go crazy for the larva and the flies. Go crazy for crickets. Go crazy for locusts. They literally jump like a foot off the floor to catch the flies. It's like the craziest thing. Yeah, really cool.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Next time I see them,
you mentioned locust again. We could have talked about feeders for another hour.
Yeah. We're very lucky here in the UK and Europe. I know America, and obviously America, there's the odd plug, but I know Canada sucks for it.
Well, all of our stuff needs to, because we can only keep native insects that are plant eaters.
Okay.
So in this part of Canada, I would presume we'd probably have to go to the West Coast where it's warmer to collect grasshoppers from there to be able to breed them and not have to actually winter them.
Because these ones
because ours have to be wintered for them to
Yeah.
So it's just too much of a pain in the butt to keep them going.
Yeah, I get like 500 locusts for like I think off the top of my head like 40 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like next to nothing.
Yeah. What a great
Yeah.
feeder that would be.
Yeah, they're dirt cheap over here. So we have countless species of roach. I personally breed 3 species of roach. We have locusts, crickets, obviously, superworms, mealworms. We don't have silk. We don't have hornworms. We have silkworms. We're not allowed hornworms.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
That's
so
something
we don't
we're allowed to
hornworms.
have.
Yeah. So we have silkworms. I've done silkworms for my room, but I've never done
Yeah.
hornworms because they're illegal here. Because apparently they can become invasive. But yeah, and over here in the UK, we're not allowed to ship live animals like you are in America in the post, but we're allowed to ship bugs. So we can buy katydids,
Okay.
we can buy stick
Yeah.
insects like off eBay and just ship katydids to our house, or post katydids, stick insects, beetle larvae. We get a bunch of stuff. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really
His
cool.
hobby over there is definitely a lot better
Yeah.
than his over here as well.
Yeah, there's no excuse not to give. At least over here, in Europe. There's no excuse not to give a varied diet because I don't think people realize how lucky and I didn't until I started speaking to Americans and Canadians and even Australians. Like locusts are just, and for me, it's just that's part of my hobby. We have locusts, whereas you guys don't get them, can't get them, so you don't realize how lucky you are until again you see behind that curtain and you go, oh Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
So
Like we can only keep 2 kinds of roaches here, and one of them discoid and Suriname.
do you not have dubia?
We're not allowed
Dubias are
dubia.
illegal.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
damn.
states has
I'm
them.
not sure that Suriname aren't either, to be honest. I've been seeing a lot
So
of
Surinames are on the fence, but they're still not. They're still not even worth.
and they're horrible feeders.
They're horrible
The second
feeders
they drop
anyway.
the
Yeah.
soil, they dig right down.
Discoid, I've got discoids. They're massive, so they're so slow. They're slow production.
slow.
Yeah,
The production's not anywhere.
Whereas
as good.
dubias,
yeah. You get like
supposedly
40 babies a
breed
month.
super
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
No, I have breed them.
Yeah.
You get 40 babies per female per month.
Yeah.
That's which is way better than discoids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I breed discoids as well. They're terrible.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
great
That's all we get
feeders.
So far.
But
Yeah. When they're there.
yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's
Try feeding larger monitors. You go through them like you have like 15 cultures going just to try and.
When I first got them, I was told that the same as dubia, so males are winged and females aren't. And again,
That's the other way.
well, they're both winged. The species
both
I
winged.
have. Yeah.
Are they?
Oh, yeah, I think they're both winged.
Oh,
The babies
so-
aren't, but eventually they both go.
Yeah, so when they're adults, they're both winged.
Yeah.
And I sift when I got thousands, and over here they're really expensive. They're like £10 for a pair. That are really expensive over here.
Oh, okay. They're a little bit
And
cheaper here, but they're still very expensive as well.
Yeah, so I sifted through this whole box, sifted through. Like the ones with wings, I'm assuming are males. So I'm picking one male to like 4 females, which are molt before adult. They're shiny. So it's like, okay. And I'm doing all my things, and I'm just feeding all these adults off to Mango. And I'm not exaggerating. Before I realized, I bet you I fed 500 adult discoids and God knows how many females. Like just fed off like all this money.
Wow. Yeah.
So now I haven't touched my colony and I've been fed off from it for 6 or 8 months now. I'm trying to build it back up because obviously, thankfully, I kept
enough of them. Yeah.
So they're
kept
slow
a few males.
Females, and thankfully, some of the older nymphs have obviously now turned into females. But I've just left them alone. Which was kind of sad when I realized. And I told all my friends, I was like, yeah, just take some. Like, these are males, these are females, and they fed off all theirs. And it was a whole like scandal cancelled again. But
No, I think here they go for something like $60 for 15.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
15 packs.
Yeah, but they're usually quite small.
Oh yeah, they're tiny.
They're like
You
you're
have to
usually
wait for
getting
the
them
two
like
rounds to get
it's
your colony going.
yeah.
I think it's about. I think I haven't looked for a while, but I think it's about £10 for an adult pair.
Yeah.
And I reckon I fed off maybe like 200 pairs. Just here you go, Mango.
Yeah.
Without even knowing, I got them for free. Admittedly, she's had a fair share of anything that doesn't make it in my room as well. She's just the garbage disposal. She takes a lot, so she gets a very, very varied diet, especially when it's monitor hatching season, because some things aren't meant to survive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very true.
Wait
You
till
know.
you have gecko hatching season.
Well, hopefully next year I'll be producing the knobtails. I'll be wintering them now, and hopefully they'll come out. I'm picking up another female soon, so I'll have a 1.2.
Nice.
I was speaking to Brandon, and he was saying, "Yeah, they'll just breed and breed and breed." I was like, "Oh God,
Yeah.
I don't need
like
that."
too.
Yeah.
Stenos are like that too. Yeah.
God, yeah,
don't
I need
stop.
to do my steno. Once I know my sex ratios, I'm gonna do them a nice setup. Not that mine's bad, but it's just make sure they're okay kind of setup.
Yeah.
So once they get a bit older,
Well,
I'm gonna.
and when you have things that are crazy breeders, just you got enough things that'll eat the eggs, anyways.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
That's what I do with Aki
like,
eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Aki's produced 70 eggs. It was like 70 eggs in the space of 4 months. Just one pair.
Yeah, like what are you possibly going to do with that? You know.
Yeah, so I just fed them off. Well, not all of them, but I fed most of them off. Yeah, she had 27 eggs, which I think is a world record. I have found no one yet that's had more eggs.
Yeah, that's
than
crazy.
27.
Yeah,
and I did film that, so I've got the video proof of that one.
Nice, there you go.
So I'm self-proclaimed world record. Anyone who's had more than 27 Aki eggs, DM me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then she laid like 21 and then like 24. Like,
wow.
Yeah, honestly, she produces so many eggs. She's not even a big female. She just produces so many eggs. They're thankfully now starting to winter, so they're not breeding at the minute, thankfully. But yeah, and even if I pull the male, she just lays slow clutches. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to feed you them for 2 months. I'm not at all. Yeah. You're going to get like one bug a week, and that's it.
Yeah.
She still lays eggs, man. I can't stop her.
Yeah. That's wild. And you do snails for your savannah, eh? Do you?
I've done. It's not a regular thing because they're seasonal over here. But yeah, the maddest thing, and I didn't realize it until I watched it back. So Bumpy was biting them and crunching them and spitting them out, biting them, crunching them, spitting them out, biting them, crunching them, spitting them out.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you doing, you stupid lizard?" You know what I mean? After she had like 6 snails, and she did the same thing. And then when I watched the video back, I was like, "Oh my God, she's breaking the shell, spitting it out so the shell falls off." Crunching it, spitting it out, and obviously every time she spat it out, when I watched it back in the video, the snail had less and less and less shell, and then eventually it was a shellless snail, and she was just eating like escargot. So I was like, "Oh my God, she's a genius!" And I thought she was being
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I want to do that with mine. I haven't done snails yet
because snails are illegal here, hard to get.
Yeah.
Oh, actually.
You can go get escargot
I guess you could get them frozen.
You know.
Yeah. We get them like in the spring and the summer. But again, they effectively brumate here. Like they winter, so you don't really get them through the winter. You can buy obviously snails from like Asian supermarkets or whatever the case.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're shell on. But
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but apparently they annoy millipedes in the wild, and millipedes secrete all their toxins, and then once they've finished secreting toxins, then the savannas will eat them afterwards.
Will eat them. I've heard that. Yeah.
That's
genius.
Yeah.
It's super smart.
Yeah. That reminds me, my mother had a skunk when she was young, and the skunk used to eat caterpillars. But what it would do is roll the caterpillars on the ground till all the fur came off, and then it would pop it in its mouth and eat it.
Genius. Honestly,
like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Complete side tangent on that. Have you seen these clips of these alligators that are like finding like bits of almost food, pushing them in front of their noses, waiting for turtles to come and get them? The turtle stretches out its neck to get it, and the alligators just chomp them.
Whoa, Steve, brilliant.
Yeah. And there's
cool.
I can't think what species of crocodile it is as well, but there's a species of crocodile that lives in a certain range. I can't remember what species it was. And there's a certain species of bird that picks certain types of sticks for its nest. And the crocodiles find the select sticks, push them to their nose tip. The birds obviously go, "Oh, I want that for my nest." Come in, and then the crocodiles just nab them. So there's videos of crocodiles sifting through sticks to find like these right type of stick. Crazy.
So cool. Yeah. And it wasn't that long ago that people just thought, animals are just brainless robots, and what social media shows us, right? One of the good things.
You need
benefits.
to Google the just YouTube. I don't know, Asian water monitor fishing, and watch it use its tail to herd fish. Honestly, it will blow your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
definitely
mad.
will watch that.
Yeah,
That's
As
so
soon as
cool.
we end this, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I want to see that crocodile thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
seen it all over Instagram lately. There's just little alligators, and obviously there's little like pellets, and you watch them push it in front of them, and then they just sit and wait and like that, and they're like trying to get their buoyancy because they're still so young. And I'm like, and then these turtles, and they've obviously watched a bigger alligator do it, and that's how they learn to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the turtles they extend because they're like soft shells or whatever, so they extend their neck out. And then the alligators just chomp them. It's savage, but genius.
Genius, yeah.
Well, if that's how you eat, yeah.
Yeah, we got to do.
Survival of the fittest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's
Then our
very cool.
boys.
Yeah, let's go.
we're simple out in this.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Cool, man.
All right. Cool.
Well,
let's wrap it up. At that
I think
point,
that was
Paul.
that was awesome.
I'm putting my hand up here because you're over there for us, but I guess I should.
You're
right there.
There we
Right
go.
there.
Yeah,
there we go.
Paul, thank you very much for coming on and doing this. This was
it's a lot of fun.
Episode.
I appreciate you for inviting me on. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And now we have a scheduled plan for January. So
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
But can you let everybody know where they can find you?
just Paul's Monitors on Instagram and YouTube. I am on Facebook as Paul Burrows, but I don't use Facebook because Facebook's for the devil. So just Instagram, YouTube. I share my life with lizards. That's all I do. So if you got any questions, send us a message. I'll get back to you eventually. I get back to everybody eventually. Like I did the engagement post and there's like, I don't know, like 70, 80 comments on there. And I'm like, I'm going to reply to everybody, but I just need to find time to sit down.
I will say, I sent you a message earlier when you said that and you still haven't got back to me.
Did you send him a message while we were
I
on
did.
the show?
Yeah.
I'm going to check right now. I honestly hate doing like podcasts because every time I get off a podcast, my phone is always like blown up, and I'm I have so much to do.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah. And Greg, thank you as well for coming on and hosting this. And
he sent me hi Paul.
Yeah. I didn't say it was deep. It was just.
And I didn't reply.
I saw you grab your phone and like text and then like sneakily put it away, and I was like, "What is he doing?"
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave him on red. It's fine.
Perfect. I love it.
Cool.
But once again, thank you very much for coming on. And
no, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
For sure, this was a lot of fun, and everyone go give him a follow. Find the links in the show notes
and everybody, if you don't know
stuff.
who we are, ask Paul who we are, and he can help you find us.
Yeah, I'll make sure I share and plug it. Let me know. Send me the link when it's out, and I'll share it.
For sure.
Good.
Yeah. So
cool.
Anyway, see you all on the next one.
Thanks.